Hi everyone, here's Whynot from Whynot Adventures. Today I'm going to talk about trip planning in a part 1 and part 2 video. In this one I'm going to cover basic information of trip planning, how to research your trip, and a few other miscellaneous items with that. Part 2 I'm actually going to break down and plan a hike with you guys. I'll have it already pre-done and I'll take you guys through the steps I did. But without further ado, let's get into it. So part 1, basic information. I have this broken down into 4 parts and I'll talk briefly on each one. Part 1, who's going? Why do you need to know who's going? So you can plan out your distance better. If it's just you, you can do whatever miles you want. But if you're in a group, you got to have check-in points so you make sure you don't lose anyone. You know, like you might be like, okay, halfway through the day, we'll stop for lunch at this point, and you'll wait there for everyone to get up and see how everyone's doing. Then you'll be like, okay, we're going to go to this point and wait here, and then you'll wait there, and then you'll just see if everyone makes it, and if people don't make it, you might have to go back and help them to camp. But if you all get there decent time, you're like, yeah, we got another couple miles in us or kilometers. Why not push? Number 2, when are you going? That's important because it will determine on one of the other points later down this basic information list. So when are you going? It's important because you might be going to winter, summer, spring, or fall. There's 4 seasons, makes sense. And it depends on if you might be winter up in the northern hemisphere, but you might be going to the southern hemisphere. If you go to the southern hemisphere, it's a different season, so that's another factor you got to take into account. Number 3, what are you doing and what are you, correction, where are you going and what are you doing? This one's important because you gotta know where you're going. So you gotta pick the trail or the trail or route you're taking, and then you gotta decide what you're doing. So me, I'm a hiker, so most of my trips are hiking, and the one that I'll be doing in part 2 will be hiking based. And the final one, what supplies and equipment are you taking with you? And this is important because you gotta know the other 3 tell you what you're doing and how you're doing it. This one tells you the gear you need, which is influenced by the others. You might be going if you're going in the summer, you might have dry spells, you might have to carry more water. If you're mountaineering, you got to carry different gear than you are with hiking. So the first 3 influence the fourth one very, very much. Next is research trip resources. And this one here is important to me because I actually enjoyed planning out routes, even though they never work out. Because let's be honest, when you get on trail, you might be like, I'm going to do 20 miles today, and then 15, and you're like, I'm done for the day. Or kilometers, depends where you live. Canada, the U.S., miles, kilometers, metric imperial, depends. But like, yeah. So there are several resources. One is books. This is the book. This is not the trail I'm planning for you guys either. This is a coat trail I've already announced that I'm doing later this year. The Sunshine Coast Trail. This is the guidebook for it I bought by Ari Waltz. I hope I'm pronouncing your name right. And it breaks down the trail pretty much into sections with some maps. And at the very back, it tells you the distance between um, points in each section. So like section 1, Land's End, sort that's where it ends. Tells you where the tenting is, the shelters are, and the kilometer marker it's at. So like a kilometer marker, let me just pick one. 12, Wednesday Lake. You can have there's water, swimming, tenting, picnic area, and a toilet of some sort there. It says right there. So this is a nice resource to have. Not all guidebooks are like this. All guidebooks are different. I have several um, for different trails within around the place. Ones that I want to do, some I have done. But this year's one I'm doing this year. And yeah, I bought this book and just to help me plan it. So this one's an easy book to plan. Next is one that's not used as much as it used to be. I find I still like using them to plan because it's nice to see the terrain, and that is maps. So I have a very basic map here for Fundy National Park. Um, it has all the campsites and it has pretty much all the campsites and the trail markers on here. Forgive the noise you hear right now. My dog found out that I'm filming and said he had to come investigate. So maps are very nice to have. Again, this is a very simple map. There's more maps you can get more detailed. They have contour lines, which tells you the elevation. The closer the line, the steeper the grade. Other resources are online guides. You can go online and really type in any trail name with the word guide at the end, and you'll get all kinds of guides or um, bios on someone who did it, a vlog or a blog on someone who did that trail. And those are nice to help because they give you suggestions of where to stop and how to make your days. And sometimes if you're still new to trip planning, that's the best way to go. I use a mix of that still in my planning. I read what they do and then I decide if I can do that or not. And usually I go similar to theirs, just I make my stops elsewhere. Um, the one I use when I first started trip planning or even hiking in general, YouTube. You can um, sorry, my dog's barking. I'm trying to play with his squeaky toy and I don't want to listen to it. Um, yeah, YouTube. I started off watching YouTube videos of guys who hiked and their trips, and a lot of them vlog, video blogging, and you get an idea what the trail looks like, how hard it's going to be. Well, maybe not how hard it's going to be because everyone's different, but where the water sources are, what the trail looks like, the trail community is like, and that's a good way to actually base some information on your planning out. I wouldn't base 100% of it off. I would base maybe 10% of my planning off that, but it's a start, and it's a good way to get familiarized with gear because a lot of these guys who do YouTube regularly do gear reviews and talk about different types of gear and all that. So that's a good way to get ready for the trail too. Um, Maybe not trip planning, but ways to get ready. There's also another one called apps that I have picked, and the app I like to use is called Far Out. They it's a paid you pay by the map pack, so you buy a map for a trail and you pay for it. So like the Appalachian Trail one is I think it's like $25 American when I bought it a few years ago, and I bought it on sale I think, and it gives you all the water points and all that. And I'll just bring it up on my phone so you guys can see what I'm talking about. I just gotta pick a map that's not gonna show you guys what I am do my next trip plan because I had that open. So just bear with me for a second. Here we go. This here covers Springer Mountain to Standing Bear, and it looks a lot like that. So on here it shows you the water sources, where the trail, the red line with the trail, which shows you where water is, shelters, um, the peaks, how high up you are, and everything everything like that. And it has a GPS function, so it shows you where you are on the trail. So if you want to know where the next water source is, you pick it on your map, on the app, and it tells you you might be a quarter of a mile or whatnot. And you can set it based on imperial or metric. You could base set up that way. I've set up in imperial because I do a lot of hiking in the States, so it's easier just to do that because then I'm not hiking with Americans. Like, oh, we're 5 kilometers away from it, and they'll be like, "What's kilometers?" Just easier for me. Um, Other things to consider when you're making your entire itinerary, which is I'm probably pronouncing the word wrong, but that's just me because my tongue gets tied. Um, Things to consider when you're doing your trip plan is how many days you need days between resupply points. You need to know that because you got to plan out how much food you're gonna need. Weather. What's the weather gonna be like? Is it wet, dry, windy? How much clothing should you bring? Should you bring a lot of warm clothes or should you just bring the bare minimum? Um, and resupply. You gotta know where you're resupplying. So when you get to a trail crossroads and you're like, okay, I'm going in to resupply, you need to know so you can either A, have a shuttle planned, or B, yeah, this is my dog, Blue. And he's camera shy now. No, he's not camera shy. Blue, what's that? Anyway, um, I lost my train of thought. Sorry, guys and girls and troops. Um, but yeah, you need to know that so you can actually plan out that key one, food supply. You gotta know how much food you're gonna need between point A and point B, and you gotta know where your point is gonna be at point A and point B, so you can get to point C. Usually, if there's only those three stops, you won't have to worry about B for resupply because you'll have your food at A and you'll at C you'll be done. But if it's a longer trail, there might be A through Z, and then again through A through Z again. Depends how long your trail is, right? But yeah. So part two should be out in a week or two. I'm still working on it. I'm behind my schedule of every other week. I was supposed to have this out last week, and I didn't because I got swamped at school. Um, but hopefully in a week or two, I have my part two video done and ready to be published. Anyway, hope you guys all enjoyed and you come back for part two and my adventures this year. Until then, I'm Whynot. Happy trails, y'all.